The most obvious question right off the top, what happens with Sunday's game between the Ravens and Steelers?
Listen, there are divergent point of views here in the bill. I think if you ask the NFL, the league has said up until tonight that the game would be on Sunday at 1:15 Eastern, but that was before 4 more players tested positive and 1 more Ravens staffer tested positive. Now we've got close to a dozen players who have tested positive. We've got a number of staffers that have tested positive, and I think in the health and safety interests that it's hard to play the game when John Harbaugh, the head coach, told his players on Thanksgiving night that they're not going to be allowed back into the building until Monday at the earliest. So if they're not allowed back in the building until Monday at the earliest, you can only imagine how difficult it would be to play a game on Sunday. So there are a lot of questions right now. The Ravens have their point of view. The league has got their point of view. The Pittsburgh Steelers have their point of view. And it's up to somebody to bring this all together and make it work out in a fair and justifiable way.
Well, you talked about making it work out. What's the league's approach to trying to make this schedule work? Because it's got to be complicated.
Well, the issue right now, Nabil, is that we are past the buys outside of Tampa Bay and Carolina, which haven't had their buys. We are past Thanksgiving Day games. We are well into the season. And so some of the wiggle room and flexibility that the NFL had earlier in the season when it juggled the schedule isn't really there anymore. So now does the NFL go to the scenario that it's talked about a few weeks ago where it expands the playoff field from 7 to 8 teams in each conference? Now, if it does that, the irony here would be that Pittsburgh right now is the number 1 seed in the AFC. So because the virus spread in Baltimore with the Ravens and the week they're playing the Steelers could lose their bye that they right now are on course to have. Issue there. Pittsburgh, as we know, is not happy about that right now. Or maybe the league decides to add an 18th week. Or maybe the league decides to shift the playoff structure to win percentage. Teams with the highest win percentages go. Again, we are in a situation that the league has never had to deal with before. And it's going to be up to the league on Friday, once it's back in the office, to figure out what's the fairest and most equitable way to deal with this unprecedented scenario.
Now, with Lamar Jackson expected to be placed on the COVID-19 reserve list on Friday, what does that mean for his playing status against Dallas next Thursday?
Typically, we've seen players who have tested positive miss 2 games. And again, as you pointed out, the Ravens at this time are currently scheduled to play on a short week next week, Thursday night, against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we don't know whether that game will be played. There's a lot up in the air right now. Maybe the NFL, as Field Yates, my colleague, pointed out, could juggle the Washington Steelers game that's supposed to be on Sunday, move it up to Thursday, move back the Baltimore-Dallas game. Again, a lot of decisions that the league is going to be sifting through in the league office on Friday and trying to come up with the most fair and equitable way to deal with this particular scenario.
Well, it has been a tough week in Baltimore. It continues to be a fluid situation. Adam, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you, Nabil. You too.
Well, Washington and Dallas both desperately in need of a win going into the Thanksgiving Day matchup. But before the game, the emotions for the Cowboys were elsewhere. Dallas players and coaches honored their strength and conditioning coach, Marcus Paul, who died Tuesday. Players and coaches gathered in a circle for prayer before the game. Players also had a sticker on the back of their helmet of Paul's initials. And how would they respond early in the game? Well, how about this throw? Andy Dalton, Amari Cooper. 54 yards later, the Cowboys got a 10-7 lead. But there would be some questionable calls in this game, especially if you're a Cowboys fan. Mike McCarthy decides to go for it here. 4th and inches from the 34, game tied at 10. Dalton thought he had CeeDee Lamb, was broken up by Ronald Darby. Contact, sure, but pass interference, no flag would be called. So the Cowboys turn it over. Ensuing drive for Washington, they're inside the 5. Alex Smith, Logan Thomas, now they're in the end zone. Washington would lead at 17-10 at the break. Third quarter, got some defense making some highlights here. Less than 5 minutes to go in the third. Washington up 20-13. Alex Smith off his back foot right to the hands of Jalen Smith. Thought he had a touchdown, but check out Terry McLaurin running him down. We'll show you that one more time. Hustle matters, kids. Don't give up. You could literally save a touchdown. That's exactly what happens here. Because the Cowboys get it offensively thinking they had a touchdown there. CeeDee Lamb, nope. They would have to settle for a field goal. So it's 20-16, Washington leads. More trouble for Dallas. 4th and 10 from their own 24. Cowboys run a fake punt. Cedric Wilson is going to be tackled for a huge loss. But check this out. They had a wide open receiver for a first down. It was there. Wilson never saw him or never looked up. McCarthy had to answer a few questions about that.
We're trying to generate a big play at that point in the game. Prior, the information that you look for going into it was a solid call.
On the big punt call, do you ever consider the negative part of it and say, okay, we're in this game, it's a 4-point game, let's just punt it and see if we can get a stop?
Well, you won't get anywhere if you're thinking about negatives all the time. Obviously it was a solid play call. It's a good play design. Their gunner made a good play, came off of it. He put us in a high-low read. That's the nature of those plays. You can never convert them, obviously, if you don't call them and if you don't believe in them. So I clearly understood the situation when it was called.
Mike, just to clear that up, on the 4th and 9, you're saying you believe that's a solid play call and the risk doesn't even factor into it because that's negative thinking?
I'm fine with my answer before. When you call it, you obviously are looking to convert it. You obviously understand on 4th down calls what your options are. You either convert it, you don't convert it. You always know that going into the, there's flow of the game. All those things are factored in that decision. I'm very confident in our players. Put them in position to make big plays.
Hey, sometimes you have the right play call, but you don't execute, so then the judgment is questioned. And then Washington would capitalize almost immediately. Antonio Gibson, 23 yards away. Yeah, wave goodbye to this game, Dallas fans. Gibson had 115 yards rushing in this game. Next possession is 4th and 1. Washington doing what the Cowboys couldn't do. Convert 4th down plays to keep the drive going. And then later, it's Gibson. Oh, that's room, and that is speed. Gibson, the first rookie to score 3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving since Randy Moss in 1998. When that game happened, Gibson was 5 months old. Washington picks up its 4th win of the season, winning at 41-16 on Thanksgiving.